So I'm going to be talking about how to use Bitcoin to design fair protocols. This is joint work with Iddo Bentov. So one of the important motivations of our work is the problem of fair exchange. So the notoriety of this problem is very well captured in this 9-gag cartoon where two parties wish to exchange $100 for 100 bullets. So as it turns out, this can be quite dangerous in practice. So thankfully, in cryptography, we only have to deal with the case where parties, with a much relatively harmless case, where parties are trying to exchange digital items over the internet. So for example, in the problem of contract signing, parties wish to sign contracts and exchange them. But here they have the dilemma that neither wants to commit first because the other signer, for example, could just be malicious and he would just not send his part of the contract. So as it turns out, you can actually formalize this intuition, and unfortunately, we know that fair exchange is impossible in in general. So let's look at the problem of secure computation, which is the most general problem in cryptography. Obviously, fair exchange is a special case, so we also have that fair secure computation is also impossible. As a result of this, the definitions of secure computation, the presence of dishonest majority, have actually been modified so that they no longer require fairness. Right? But this turns out to be a big barrier in the practical adoption of MPC because you can design like protocols which are very, very fast, but if they don't guarantee fairness, there's going to be one honest party who's going to execute till the end of the protocol, and then he's not going to get the output, and he just has to, I don't know, rerun the computation with someone else. Right? So because secure computation is like a very important problem and it has tons of applications in practice, researchers are obviously not happy with the state of the art like this. So they have investigated several workarounds. So for example, in one set of workarounds exemplified by gradual release and partial fairness, so here, this line of work tries to control the adversary's advantage in learning the output first. There is another set of workarounds which tries to weaken the model and use, like, say, a trusted arbiter, which is going to restore fairness in case things go wrong. So both these workarounds have some drawbacks in the sense that the first workaround requires lots of rounds, whereas the second workaround, well, it obviously requires trusting a third party, something that we don't want to do. Another set of workarounds, and this will be the workaround that we consider in this paper, is the penalty model. So here, the party is allowed to deviate, but if it deviates after learning the output, then it is going to lose money. So if it does not send the last message of the protocol, the money is going to change hands. So, so obviously, we don't want honest parties to ever lose money, but a dishonest party, if it's going to deviate after learning the output, is going to definitely lose money. So we call this primitive as secure computation with penalties. So we are not the first to investigate this model. This model has already been investigated under the topic legally enforceable fairness and also usable optimistic exchange. So both these works have, unfortunately, they need to rely on the existence of a central trusted bank or an e-cash, which is not really widely adopted in practice. So ideally, we want something which is decentralized, requires, does not require us to place our trust on some third party, and is also at the same time relatively widely adopted. So this naturally leads us to Bitcoin. So as you know, this is a decentralized digital currency. It also provides some level of anonymity, which has led to it being like relatively widely adopted. There's also lots of recent research activity which try to attack the system, try to break the anonymity. But for this talk, we won't care about the anonymity guarantees provided by Bitcoin. What we care about is that Bitcoin kind of securely implements a bank. Actually, what we'll want is like much more concrete and much weaker than this, and we will see this later in the talk. So Bitcoin also supports a wide variety of transactions, and these transactions are quite expressive by use of Bitcoin scripts and time locks, something that we will use. There are also a wide range of applications which run on top of Bitcoin. So if you look at it, there are like several internet services which offer lottery or gambling or auctions on top of Bitcoin. For example, Satoshi Dice is one such internet website which offers gambling over Bitcoin. But unfortunately, if you want to use these services, you have to essentially trust these internet websites, saying that they are absolutely holy and they're going to run the gambling protocol in the right way. This is something we don't want to do. So if you want to replace the trusted third party, well, we can ask, can we use secure computation instead? Right? So protocols for secure computation are now getting faster and faster. But this, again, hits the fundamental problem that secure computation does not give fairness, which is something very important for these applications. Right? So on the one hand, we have secure computation with penalties, and we can ask, OK, so can Bitcoin replace the central trusted bank or the arbiter? And on the other hand, if you want, say, something like secure lottery with penalties, then we can ask the question, hey, can secure computation replace the trusted third party? So these are the questions that will concern ourselves in this talk. So what we show is first a formal framework to capture financial transactions, and then a formal specification of ideal functionalities. So our dream ideal functionalities will be secure computation with penalties and secure lottery with penalties. We will also need a claim-or-refund transaction functionality, something that we will use to construct protocols realizing these dream primitives. So we'll construct our protocols in this FCR hybrid model, where FCR stands for claim-or-refund transactions. And our protocols are quite efficient. They require only a linear number of calls to the ideal functionality. They also require only linear number of rounds, where linear is linear in the number of parties in the multi-party setting. So our work is actually inspired by recent work, recent constructions of Bitcoin lottery in the penalty model. And also concurrent to our work, there's a paper by Andrzejowicz et al. They also show two-party secure computation in the penalty model. Unfortunately, all of these protocols, all of these constructions, they're somewhat ad hoc, and the analysis is also ad hoc. In particular, they don't use the simulation paradigm. Neither these Bitcoin works nor previous works in the penalty model actually give a solution for the secure computation problem in the multi-party setting, something that we give. And there are also some trade-offs between our protocols in terms of the number of rounds required versus the number of transactions relative to other protocols. In a follow-up work, we also show constant round secure computation with penalties. So in the current work, we only show a protocol with linear number of rounds. But this follow-up work uses quadratic number of transactions, whereas we require only linear number of transactions. OK, so in the rest of the talk, I'll be covering the formal framework for capturing financial transactions. I'll quickly go through the claim-or-refund transaction functionality and also secure computation with penalties. For secure lottery with penalties, I'll refer you to the paper. So our goal for capturing this financial transactions is, we are looking for a very minimal model, and we want to make things simple. So we want to capture money. So we define coins. These are just atomic entities. These are indistinguishable from one another. The fundamental difference between coins and, say, bit strings is that coins are associated with an owner. And this ownership will change upon transfer of coins. Very briefly, to prove security, we work in a UC-like model, of course, now with coins. Here, the environment can give or take coins to the parties during the protocol. And the view of the environment of the adversary will now include the distribution of coins. So in our theorems, we'll actually prove something like this. Our protocols we'll describe a protocol in a hybrid model where parties have access to an unfair ideal functionality and also a transaction functionality, which will be realized in Bitcoin. And then we will show that this execution in the hybrid model is indistinguishable to an ideal execution where parties interact with the dream primitive. So here, this is the photo of Karl Marx, who is distributing both coins and outputs in a very fair manner to all the participants. So something that we'll be looking for is straight line simulation in the hybrid model. This is just to make the protocols more, so they can run a concurrent setting without any simulation issues. So we don't rewind either with respect to coins or crypto primitives. So next we go to the claim-or-refund transaction functionality. So this is basically a two-party functionality which interacts with the designated sender and the receiver. So here the sender is going to deposit some number of coins and also specify a time bound as well as a circuit fee to the transaction functionality. Then the receiver can claim this deposit, but it has to do so within the time t, and only if it produces a valid witness. right? And if such a claim is made, then the witness which was produced by the receiver is going to be revealed to all parties who are participating in the secure computation protocol. If none of this happens, then the sender actually gets the coins back. So this will be our main transaction functionality. The importance of this transaction functionality comes from the fact that there is a very efficient realization in Bitcoin. And we actually abstract what we require from Bitcoin via this transaction functionality. So if either PayPal or Litecoin or even a bank offers this functionality, then our protocol still works. So this is why we choose to abstract in this way. So I'll quickly go through the candidate realization in Bitcoin. So this will make use of Bitcoin scripts as well as time logs. So in the first step, S is going to create this new transaction called CRTX that is going to spend the money that he actually holds to a Bitcoin script. And this can be redeemed either by producing both S and R's signature. So this is for the refund, or just R's signature and a valid witness T that satisfies the circuit. So this is for the claim. Then R is going to sign a transaction that refunds this CRTX to S, back to S after time top. Right? And finally, now S has everything that it needs to enable a refund in case things go wrong. So it's just broadcast CRTX to the Bitcoin network. So here things are actually, you have to be slightly more careful because we are dealing with malicious parties here, and they are willing to steal the money of the honest parties. So thankfully, Bitcoin actually supports, the steps above can be implemented safely in Bitcoin because if you want R to sign on CRTX, you just need S to send him the hash of the CRTX, not just CRTX. And R can always use fresh signing keys each time in this protocol, so its coins will not get lost. So I'll quickly describe secure computation with penalties and also try to give a realization in the FCR hybrid model. So this is the slide for secure computation with penalties. So if you just ignore the stuff in green, it will give you the standard secure computation, the definition for standard secure computation. Right, so I'll just walk you through the slide. So here, both the honest parties as well as the ideal adversary are going to provide inputs as in standard secure computation. But in addition, they are also going to make some deposit, some number of coins. Now, what the functionality does is that it's always going to return the coins deposited by the honest party back to them. So honest parties never lose coins in the ideal execution. But whereas in standard secure computation, the simulator always gets the output first, and then it can choose whether to abort or not. Here, we deliver the output to S only if it deposits some sufficient number of coins. So the number of coins it deposits must be sufficient enough to compensate the honest parties just in case the simulator decides to abort. So only if the simulator deposits enough number of coins, it gets a chance to look at the output, then it can decide whether it wants to abort or whether it wants to continue. If it wants to abort, then each honest party is compensated. If it wants to continue, then it gets its coins back. Then the honest parties are going to get their output. Of course, if it does not deposit sufficient number of coins, then it does not have any say in deciding who gets the output. The output goes to all parties. So our strategy for realizing secure computation is something that is used in several previous works. So we are going to reduce fair secure computation to fair reconstruction. The way we do this is that we let parties interact with an unfair ideal functionality. So this is the unfair ideal functionality, which is not only going to compute the output of the function f, but it's also going to secret share the output into n additive shares. Then it's going to compute commitments on these shares. It's going to deliver all commitments to all parties, but only the ith decommitment to the ith party. So of course, the adversary can abort after receiving the output from this unfair ideal functionality, but still it does not learn the output because it's missing at least one share from the honest party. So some technical details. So if you want straight line simulation, you have to use a special type of commitment here called honest binding commitments, and these are realizable under standard assumptions. So I'll actually present the protocol for fair reconstruction in the slide after this. So here we're just going to have a quick recap of the claim and refund transaction functionality and also the type of difficulties we have to encounter when you're designing such protocols. So I will use this following notation, this arrow notation, to denote a claim or refund transaction. So here P1 is the sender, P2 is the receiver, and P2 can claim this Q coins only if it produces the witness T, which will be the decommitment within the time bound tau. Otherwise, the money is just refunded back to P1. All right. So obviously, our protocol is going to be a sequence of these transactions. And note that FCR transaction itself does not give any simultaneity. So obviously, the malicious parties can abort either not making a deposit. So in this case, the malicious parties might have claimed a deposit made by an honest party, but then they wouldn't have made a deposit. So it's possible that the honest party may learn the output, but it will lose its deposit. Right? This is something that we want to avoid. And also sometimes when the adversary does not make a claim. This is problematic when you're considering malicious coalitions. So here a coalition of corrupt parties can wait to learn the honest party's shares, and then the adversary just does not claim one of the corrupt party's shares. So the adversary still knows the output, but the honest party does not know the output, and we have to ensure that the honest party gets compensated here. So things will become a bit more clear when you look at when we look at the protocol. So we call this the ladder protocol. The ladder protocol is a protocol which realizes fair reconstruction. So there are two phases in this protocol. First is the roof phase, and then there is a ladder phase. So in the roof phase, each party is going to make deposits to the last party. And PN can actually claim these deposits only if it can reveal all of these end shares. Right? So parties make all these deposits. These deposits can be made simultaneously. And after that, they go down, and then they're going to make the ladder deposits. So this is made one after the other. And so each party makes this ladder deposit to the next party. So PN is going to make a deposit to PN minus 1, saying that, hey, you can claim my N minus 1 Q coins if you produce the first N minus 1 shares. And PN minus 1 will make a similar deposit of N minus 2 Q coins, saying that Pn minus 2 can claim this deposit if it produces the first N minus 2 shares, and so on. And then these ladder deposits, so we first claim the ladder deposits, so we make the ladder claims, but now in the reverse direction. So now P1 is first going to claim P2's deposit. It already knows P1. Recall that the ith share was given to the party PI. So it already knows T1, so it's able to make this claim. Now P2 knows T1. P2 already knew T2, so it's able to claim this deposit made by P3, and so on. So the ladder claims are made in this direction. Then if everybody is honest, then everybody makes the roof claims as well. So the key point here is that as the parties are making their ladder claims, they are getting evened out, because note that the roof, when they're making the ladder claims, the roof claims haven't been made. So each party's Q coins are still in escrow. But when they make these claims, they're always going plus Q up. Like they always gain Q coins here. The Q coins are in escrow, so they are like evened out. At any point, if a party here aborts, let's say PN is going to abort this protocol, then these roof deposits are going to get refunded back. So all the honest parties eventually get the compensation. So that is the high-level idea. If the party PN is going to just continue the protocol, then PN actually evens out, because it deposited N-1 Q here and is going to get N-1 Q back. And all honest if PN continues, then all honest parties are going to get all these shares, so then they can reconstruct the output. So a ladder protocol is also, it makes it easy to deal with aborts that can happen anywhere during the protocol. And another plus point of this protocol is of the ladder sequence of FCR transactions is that it can be easily extended to give a lottery protocol. Something that I will not cover in this talk, but I encourage you to see the paper. So this is our protocol for fair reconstruction. So now we are ready to summarize. So what we have shown is, we investigated the penalty model for enforcing fairness in secure computation. We picked a claim and refund transaction functionality, which was supported by Bitcoin. And we actually constructed efficient protocols in this hybrid model for secure computation with penalties, secure lottery with penalties. One of our contributions is also formal specifications of these ideal functionalities. For future work, we leave open the question of proving a composition theorem, something that we did not do, but we suspect should be easy. There are also more applications of this type, some of which we investigated in our follow-up work, involving like verifiable computation or secure computation with like 1-bit leakage. and also a problem called bounties. One thing that I'm very excited about is the possibility of implementing these protocols. So these protocols, both the candidate realization in Bitcoin was also very efficient. This can also make use of any unfair ideal functionality, let's say the fastest ideal functionality. And the hope is, and the guess is whether these can become killer apps for MPC. So one thing I would like to stress is that typically MPC protocols are used for preserving privacy or correctness. So in a problem like fair exchange, you don't really require like privacy or privacy in the sense that parties are anyway going to get the signed contract later. So here, like MPC finds like a kind of different kind of use in the sense that it is used to, so secure computation penalty is used to get fairness. So maybe that's one appealing feature of a construction. So thank you for your attention.